Anime's been popular for quite some time and there are loads of shows to choose from. So how about I give you some recommendations on what I feel are the best action anime every year of the past decade or so. No movies or OVAs, just TV series and no sequels. Each year has a lot of strong contenders, but I'll single out the one that I think's the best among them. It's all my opinion, but hey, maybe you can finally make the decision to try out that show that you've been putting on hold for quite some time already. Before we get started, I urge you to subscribe to the channel. It just takes a second to do it, and if you're still unsure about it, maybe this video will convince you to hit that button and be the first in line for my next upload. 2011. Ah, what a year for anime. While most people will remember this year for 3 smash hits, Steins Gate, Fate Zero and Madoka Magica, I think that the action anime of the year is none other than Hunter x Hunter. It's really a close call between this and Fate Zero, which are 2 of my personal favourites. These shows really push the boundary of what we typically associate with action anime. People tend to associate Fate Zero with a dark and cynical outlook on things and its amazing animation and art, which still actually hold up now. The directing's superb and the voice actors really do an amazing job. Still, I narrowly give the edge to Hunter x Hunter for being more of a straight-up adventure series that I could recommend to anyone. Accessibility to the new anime fan looking for their first show is good, and I think Hunter x Hunter 2011 is one of the remakes that really improved on its original material. It's also a bright adventure that can smoothly shift to dark and serious tones with a lot of philosophical backdrops. Honourable mentions this year include Blue Exorcist and Dead Man Wonderland. I also enjoyed the polarising Guilty Crown and Future Diary a lot, and I'd say that those shows had their moments too. They're not popular shows without a reason. 2012. 2012 is officially where I think the isekai craze got its start when Reiki Kawahara became a household name. Axel World from early this year got a middling reception, but his Sword Art Online took the anime world by storm. Behind SAO and Axel World, there are a lot of action shows that I enjoyed here. Urobuchi continued his momentum from 2011 with the ever-popular Psycho Pass, and I found myself loving the Ellen action harem duo of High School DxD and Oda Nobuna. And lest we forget Magi, which I feel is one of the more underrated shonen for the quality of its world building and writing. But for 2012, I give the crown to JoJo. Why? Well, JoJo is pretty much one of the most beloved shonen franchises out there these days, and this is when its anime started. It combines a lot of your typical hot-blooded shonen action with super over-the-top powers and execution that would put even Trigger to shame. But it's not just the craziness that it's got going for it. JoJo has a legitimately interesting overarching plot that spans multiple seasons and in-universe generations. It's a quintessential action series that you might want to check out. 2013. Speaking of Trigger, 2013's where their big hit Kill La Kill made its debut. If you want to talk controversial, this is the year Valvrave came out. Personally, I obviously love the action light novel shows with harem elements, and I found my thirst for that quenched with some rather niche titles like Data Live, Machine Doll and Strike the Blood. But we all know what 2013 is all about. Kill La Kill, largely considered one of the best shows in that era, paled in popularity compared to the blockbuster of that year. 2013's the year of Attack on Titan, no questions asked. With its very intriguing premise of survival, its action horror ambiance and how it goes out of the way to create a high-octane action show devoid of the usual anime tropes that non-fans could find weird, Attack on Titan made its mark all over the world. I dare say that it's probably the year anime really started to burst into the mainstream. I'd also say SAO got the ball rolling, but at the end, with the tropes it used, the fan service and how it wrote the characters, it's still a show obviously made to be enjoyed by the more otaku side of the fandom. However, Attack on Titan shattered all boundaries that kept the normies away from the community. It also helps that Attack on Titan throughout its seasons constantly found ways to reinvent itself. It hooked the people with the survival horror premise of season 1, and while the premise of humans fighting titans persisted towards the end of the next seasons, you'll find that the show has dared to branch into a lot of other areas like politics, morals and humanity. This was truly a landmark year for anime. 2014. Unfortunately, with how much Attack on Titan took over the anime world, it's hard to make a breakthrough the year after that. And it's a shame because 2014 did have a lot of great action shows. This was the year 7 Deadly Sins started, and it was a legitimately fun action show before it got memed to death thanks to the subpar art and animation in the latter seasons. There's also Noragami and Tokyo Ghoul. And of course, how could I not mention my 2 light novel hits of the year, Mahoka and No Game No Life. The former had the luck to get a second season and an animated spin-off. The latter, well, not so much. At least No Game No Life's movie blows Mahoka's out of the water. As a final honourable mention, I also enjoyed Black Bullet despite being grossly disappointed in the adaptation's cut content as a source material reader. However, you see the problem. Besides Noragami, none of the shows above can be easily recommended to non-anime fans. Tokyo Ghoul feels a tad bit too edgy for the average normie, while the others have fan service that those same people likely wouldn't take too kindly to. Thankfully though, 2014 also gave us my action anime of the year, Parasite. Parasite often gets compared to Tokyo Ghoul with its edgy action style, but I feel that Parasite maintains more of a better balance between the violence and the message behind the plot. It feels more relevant to society as a whole, and I really like how the characters developed. Also, while it's not a knock on Tokyo Ghoul's first season, which is really enjoyable, Parasite at least wrapped up its story neatly in its one and only season, whereas the other show required multiple seasons, the latter ones which were rushed to oblivion. If you know someone who's never touched anime before and wanted to recommend a show from 2014, then Parasite is my pick. Before we move on to our next entry, ever had a situation where you wanted to watch the titles I recommend, but you find yourself unable to do it legally? Well, that sounds like a job for everyone's best friend on the go and the sponsors of this video, ExpressVPN. Ever wanted to bypass region locks and watch more anime? Ever wanted to access Facebook or Reddit in places where they're blocked? You know who to call. If you're still not convinced, then hear me out. As a person who enjoyed traveling back in the days, ExpressVPN became my best buddy. All I needed to do was connect to a server of my choosing and voila! Now movies like Your Name and Spirited Away are just a click away. You can try it yourself and it is as easy as it looks. The only thing separating you from watching the next episode of your favorite anime in a foreign country is the click of a button. In addition to bypassing region locks, ExpressVPN also provides outstanding protection from the dangers of the internet. ExpressVPN is here to act as your unbeatable shield against those cyber attacks. To get your super cheap ExpressVPN subscription, just follow the link in the description box or type in expressvpn.com/ViniiTube to get started. 2015. 2015 is yet another big year for action anime. Arslan, Overlord and Danmachi take the forefront for action novel adaptations, but there are also some other novel adaptation hits like Chivalry of a Failed Knight and the polarizing Gate and Asterisk War. Also, there's a personal guilty pleasure and favourite of mine, Testament of Sister New Devil. On the manga side of things, we have Assassination Classroom making its big debut, and I myself have a soft spot for Seraph of the End despite people back then passing it off as an Attack on Titan ripoff with bleach weapons and gay vampires. But 2015 undoubtedly belongs to One Punch Man. It's not quite Attack on Titan in terms of how big of a cultural phenomenon it became, but One Punch Man seriously came pretty damn close to it. Attack on Titan, as I said, broke the barrier between anime fans and ordinary people, and One Punch Man was the show perfectly poised to capitalize on that. At this time, superheroes were becoming the in thing thanks to the excellence of the MCU and the general awareness of them growing, and whether by chance or by intention, One Punch Man really did take advantage of that. It also helps that while the show is an exciting action series through and through, it does deliver the goods as a parody. It's a show that would at first be passed off as comedy due to how it pokes fun at the ridiculousness of shonen anime, yet at the same time becomes such an immersive and emotional roller coaster when you do actually watch it. The hype is real for One Punch Man, and while Season 2 is quite middling, Season 1 during its time was a legitimate cultural phenomenon. 2016. How fitting for 2016 to be yet another win for the Creator 1. If 2015 is One Punch Man's year, the crown for 2016 goes to Mob Psycho. With all the shows that I've talked about so far, Mob Psycho could probably boast the title of being the best in its much renowned animation. However, animation doesn't make an anime, and luckily for Mob Psycho, it's got so much more going for it. It's got a very simple yet exciting storyline, and its characters are all interesting and well written. Character dynamics and the action really make Mob Psycho feel like a cinematic production more than anything. People have compared this amazing show to a comic book flick, and it's not hard to see why. While I was quick to give Mob Psycho the crown, I won't pretend it was an easy win given what 2016 gave us. Superheroes never went out of flavour, and the year introduced My Hero Academia, a show which is still going strong to this day to the world. It's also had a plethora of niche shows that I really enjoyed, such as 91 Days, Elder Ramen in the Sky, Bungo Stray Dogs, Twin Star Exorcists and Drifters. Do you classify ReZero as action? Because that's actually certainly one of the strongest contenders for the year given how much I love it. Hey, I even made a video essay on that, so you can check that out in the upper right corner. 2017. Compared to the previous years, 2017 seemed more like a lull in terms of action anime, honestly speaking. Now that's if we exclude sequels, movies and OVAs. But don't get me wrong though, there's still quite a lot to like, such as Yujo Senki. The year also gave us Recreators, Inuyashiki, Fate Apocrypha and Akashic Records. It's just that besides Yujo Senki, none of these feel as if they made a big impact on the community as something like Overlord or One Punch Man. And that's not to discredit the 2017 shows, but it just goes to show that if you take the sequels, which included Attack on Titan, out of the way, the year felt quiet as far as action shows go. That is relative, and it's more of a testament to what blockbusters the preceding year gave us. For my 2017 pick, I'll direct you to a hidden gem of an anime, pun intended, in Land of the Lustrous. The premise is simple enough. You're given a cast of humanoid gems who fight for survival against enemies who abduct them and turn them into jewelry. However, you see the story unfold through the lens of one who's not exactly a fighter. Through Foss's perspective, we're then given a show that heavily deals with tragedy, self-image and loss. It's more than an action show, and it's an anime that I can confidently introduce to a non-fan, at least compared to something like Yujo Senki. The 3D presentation might discourage some people from watching the show, but it is actually surprisingly well done. If I were to look at an action show as a whole in terms of value and not just popcorn entertainment, Land of the Lustrous easily takes the top spot this year. 2018. As we inch closer to the end of the decade, we start getting into the action shows that made a buzz in the community for good or bad reasons. Who could forget Goblin Slayer's controversy, or the weekly reactions darling in the Frankster in the community? This year also marked Golden Kamui's debut, and while its focus is more on exploration and adventure, it's got some good action and it's one of the shows that I just couldn't get enough of. Slime also started this year, and it's poised to be one of the big isekai hits in the coming years as far as anime adaptations go. If we're talking straight action that can see some mainstream appeal to non-fans, I think that few can top Megalobox for that year. Combining a lot of classic Western aesthetics with an epic boxing setting made for a wondrous addition to the library of action anime. People have called it an exciting anime that looked like a heavy sci-fi cross between Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, and it's easy to see why. It has its own unique style, from the presentation to the music, and has that nostalgic 90s feel that a lot of people have grown to love. But one of the main reasons I'd recommend this anime to someone is because how amazing the second season, which aired this year, was. And don't get me wrong, the first season was good and all, but the second season for me is just on another tier, easily one of the best anime of 2021 so far. So in a different twist, Megalobox is actually something that I would recommend more to older fans, those who went through the 90s and had taken a break from anime. It should bring back memories of those good old days that they'll surely enjoy reliving. 2019. Right, so we all know what 2019's about. But first, let me talk about the honourable mentions. First up, I had a great time watching Dororo, Fire Force and Shield Hero, and I'd recommend those to anime fans. Wise Man's Grandchild is also a fun show to watch, although it only caters to a specific niche, so I can't easily recommend that one as much. The same can be said of Arifureta, but this one also had the dubious distinction of possibly some of the worst CG and animation I've seen in an anime for a long time. PS1 monsters in 2019, anyone? We all know 2019 is the year of Demon Slayer, breaking into the mainstream like nothing's ever done before. Heck, I think the Demon Slayer craze has officially surpassed Attack on Titan, with the manga, the opening song and even the recent movie shattering records left and right. But I give the nod this year to Vinland Saga. I just feel that as an action series, Vinland Saga just brings so much more to the table than Demon Slayer. I can understand why the latter became more popular, but where Vinland Saga lacked in the flashy, explosive UFO table animations and cool powers, it brought with it a more grounded and complete story, the way I see it. The narrative gets developed better, and the characters are a tier above Demon Slayer's characters in terms of writing and characterization. I'm not saying that Demon Slayer characters are bad or bland, because that's not the case, but Vinland Saga's cast just feels way better if we're going to look at it from a critical perspective. A captivating story of hardship and growth filled with epic action and very complex characters. Vinland Saga's my pick for 2019's action anime. 2020. Thus, we come to the end of the decade. 2020 for me will always be the year of delays due to the real-world circumstances, as well as the year of sequels. If we take all the sequels, movies and OVAs out the way, you're actually left with a few gems. I had a blast with the trio of edgy action titles Dorohedoro, Darwin's Game and Gleipnir. The Dragon Quest anime was also fun, and the duo of Princess Connect and Bofuri are probably two of my favourite chill action shows the past year. But things would change in this rather slow year for non-sequels as it marched towards the end, with what I can feel to be suspiciously Demon Slayer's spiritual successor, Jujutsu Kaisen. No, the two shows aren't related, but I think the Demon Slayer's smashing success had a bit to do with Jujutsu Kaisen getting the green light. I mean, there's also the revival of Shaman King and Bleach not long after. It's like that time when many shows with the Attack on Titan approach got greenlit, giving us Garbaneri of the Iron Fortress, Black Bullet, Seraph of the End, and God Eater. Whatever the case though, supernatural action shonen are back on the menu, and Jujutsu Kaisen is now leading the charge. Like Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen is a show mostly carried by how good it looks. The action's good, the characters are relatable and likable, and the powers are interesting. That's basically the recipe you use to turn in a winner in the realm of action shonen, and Jujutsu Kaisen passes the test with flying colors. Every other episode gave us a moment or a reveal that set the whole anime community ablaze with discussions, and I'd say that you've got to give a lot of credit to the animation team for that. 2021. And here we are, 2021, and we're still reeling from the effects of 2020. On the bright side, the anime industry seemed to have recovered and stabilized from the shock of early 2020, and there have been a lot less delays now. 2021's still not over, so we can't know for sure whether this will hold, but as far as an action anime go, I'll give the title this year to Vivy Fluorite Eye's Song. I didn't know what to expect out of Vivy Fluorite Eye's Song at first, despite the fact that the guy behind ReZero was involved in it. It's an understatement to say that the show just blew me away with its incredible animation and an often underrated aspect in action anime, the music. And it packages everything in a very well placed action anime that has quite the depth in terms of themes, one that's becoming more and more relevant as society gets integrated with technology. Despite Vivy winning the title for 2021's Best Action Anime, the year has had a lot of strong contenders. Vivy just felt to be the most complete for widespread appeal, for lack of a better term. The violence isn't extreme, the fan service is little to non-existent, and the story's well paced and has a good conclusion. You have 86 for those who want tragedy, drama and military in their action series. 2021 also unleashed Mushoku Tensei, known as the granddaddy of isekai for a lot to the world, and by the looks of it, it seems that it will stay for good. We have a long ride ahead. If you prefer something that involves time loops, however, why don't you try Tokyo Revengers? It has a gripping plot that continues to keep me on the edge of my seat. Whew, that was a long discussion. I'll be glad to talk about it more on the comments section. Come on, show you year by year picks as well, and we can compare our lists. Honestly, it's been quite a while since I've had this much fun writing a video because I got to look at the anime world from a perspective and see how it has evolved over time. If you enjoyed this video as much as I did, make sure to hit that like button and share this video with as many friends as you can. Then maybe we can branch off to other genres in the future. Best comedies, best mystery. There's so much we can do with this, and I'll need your response to see if I should keep making this new category of videos. If you had a great time, you can also check out the other ways you can support the channel, whether that be through Patreon or channel memberships. If you enjoy this type of content where I get to be more elaborate, you can also go over to ViniiTube Kai, where you'll have no shortage of long videos like this. Don't forget to check out our sponsors of this video, ExpressVPN. Bypass all those pesky region locks and even browse sites not available in your region with the ever-trusty ExpressVPN now. That's it for today, and I hope that I can see you again in my upcoming videos, hopefully with your new friends in tow. Till next time, have a great day.